Hey, Emily here. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint ʻAʻaliʻi. ʻAʻaliʻi is an indigenous plant here in Hawaii. This is one of my first in a series of videos that's going to show kind of the techniques and things that I've found helpful when painting native Hawaiian or just things in general, but specifically I like to paint native Hawaiian plants. I think it's a good way to spread awareness for the things that make Hawaii Hawaii. Okay, we're gonna get started with the things that you're gonna need, and I'm sorry, I really should have started with a basic watercolor tutorial. I will do one of those soon, but for this one, just jump right in. So what I'm laying out are the colors that I'm gonna use. You'll notice that these are pens. They work very similarly to watercolors, in my opinion, because you can just use the pigment like you use a palette of paint. I've gotten really hooked on using these pens because they're easier to clean. You don't have, especially with two kids around that are always grabbing things, I don't really want to leave out paints that can be squeezed out or touched. So the pens, I just can cap them when I'm done. And on top of it all, there are 92 colors in this set, so I really don't have to mix any colors together, which is really nice and makes the process go a lot faster when I'm painting things. In case you're interested in these pens specifically, I will put a link in the bio so you can find out more about them. Okay, so I am picking these three colors to use for my painting because ʻAʻaliʻi, the seed pods are they can range from maroon to green and also have like a golden color in between. So I'm going to use the green for some of the pods and also the leaves, and the other two colors mostly for the pods or the flowers. Along with my pens, I have my watercolor paper and my blending palette, which is really just a piece of paper laminated, so you can use any sort of plastic, it'll pretty much work the same. I'm cleaning off a space so that my colors are not going to become polluted and I'll just turn brown. I also have my pencil and my eraser and a bowl of water, which you cannot see, but it is definitely there. Anytime you're going to do watercolor, you obviously need water. Okay, let's get started. So first we're going to draw a outline, a really rough sketch, just to kind of give you an idea of the basic shapes that you're going to be painting. So it's a poʻo, so I'm kind of drawing the outline for how big I want it to be. And then if you look at the way ʻAʻaliʻi grows and also how it's put together in a hakule or poʻo, it's in clumps and bundles. So I'm drawing these ovals so that I kind of get an idea of, well, this is where my bundle of ʻAʻaliʻi is going to be. Next, I'm going to pencil in some leaves in between my bundles. It reminds you to keep it looking organic. Obviously in poʻo there are the flowers and the greenery both together make it beautiful. So I pencil them in so I don't forget to leave space. That's an important thing about watercolor. You kind of have to plan it out beforehand because it's really hard to paint over something you've already painted. So you sort of have to see in your mind's eye and also on the paper how it's going to be laid out before you actually start painting. Oh dear, I forgot about the brushes. So let me show you those real quick. For this one, I'm going to use smaller brushes because my paper is very small, so I can get more detail. I'm using a round one, round meaning the tip is flatter, for my flower clusters, and then the pointy one, the black one, I'm going to use for the leaves because the leaves kind of have sharper edges and the flowers are have more rounded edges. Okay, you're going to get your first color. I'm going to use my maroon. I'm putting on my palette. Or if you just have a palette, you just need to get your palette, wet your paintbrush, and get some color on your paintbrush. And then I pulled out a scratch piece of paper to practice the leaf shape. The shape of the ʻAʻaliʻi flowers remind me of butterfly wings and oval-shaped Fruit Loops. So you start with your one oval Fruit Loop and then you give it a pair on the other side, which kind of turns it into butterfly wings. So you just kind of repeat this process, spacing them, making them different sizes, different directions. And also if you have to imagine, if you look at a flower, you're not going to see all the flowers straight on because some of them are behind the other ones. So I kind of leave some of my flowers unfinished. If you do this, it'll give the illusion that they are behind the other flowers you've already painted. I always practice on my scratch paper until I feel comfortable enough to start on my actual painting. So here we go, my Fruit Loop and then my butterfly wing, Fruit Loop, butterfly wing. I'm rotating, spacing them out. You also notice I put the other colors on my blending palette and I'm dipping into them as I go, so it's not all just the same color. You can vary this by adding more water to your brush, adding more water to your palette, mixing more of one color or the other. Yeah, any variation really just makes your painting more interesting and more realistic, because a flower is never really just one solid color. So I'm getting some maroon, then I'm getting some gold, and eventually I'll get green, but I kind of want to stick to those two colors for this specific cluster. If you want to get more fancy, you can go back in after while the paint is still wet and put dabs of color in little parts of the painting. This kind of is, it's a really cool effect in watercolor because it saturates a certain area of your painting, and when it dries, it leaves a really distinct line and a fade from the lighter to darker part of whatever you painted. Now, what I mentioned before is don't forget to add in leaves. That makes it more organic. There are obviously leaves that come with flowers, and you don't want to forget them. So I'm going to paint just a few for now around my cluster. You can always add more later, and I most likely will, but for now at least I have a few in there before I start painting my next cluster. So here we go again. I'm doing a more gold cluster than a red cluster this time around. That's to give a variety to the flowers, to the lei, and also because I imagine if I were to pick this bunch from the tree, it probably would look more similar to one another than my last bunch. So that's why I'm going more with the gold. I'm still mixing in my water to give it some different shades, a lighter part, darker part, and I'm still using a little bit of red. That helps it to all feel connected. At any point while you're painting, if you feel like you maybe need to redo the shape, work on it, you can just go back to your scratch paper if you want to see the color that's coming out. Scratch paper is really great for figuring out kind of what it's going to look like before you put it on your final. And believe me, the worst thing you can do is make a mistake when you're almost done with your piece. So use scratch paper. I'm finishing up this golden cluster with some more leaves. That keeps it organic. And you're going to want to do this before you paint in the rest of your clusters because it's kind of hard, like I said before, to paint over things you've already painted. At this point, it's really the same process for the rest of the lei. I'm going to speed up the video so that you can see what it looks like in the end. But you can go ahead and pause the video along the way if you want to paint with me. Wow, I am painting really fast, and this video is going to be over soon, so I just want to point out a few more things. If you notice, I kind of work back to areas I worked before. That's to, sometimes as you're working, you'll notice, oh, this area needed more green or a certain color or a certain detail, so you can always go back and fill those things in. There you have it, a beautiful lei poʻo of ʻAʻaliʻi. Thanks for watching this video. I really appreciate your time and your interest in native Hawaiian plants. It's really important that we take care of this land that we've been given, so hopefully the next time you're out and about and you see something like what we painted today, you'll know what it is.